First thing first, we should set it up, the OCIO core management. There are two ways you can do it. You can do per application. So, for instance, in a Maya configuration, you go into the preferences, you go into color management, and then you select what kind of color management you want, the path and everything. And these need to be done per each application. If you want to be sure that you are using the same OCIO, otherwise you're going to use the default one per each application. But in case you want to be sure that you are consistent for all the applications, you use the latest one available or the one that you want to use, in my case, the 1.2. The other option you have is that you can set it up, the also called environment variables. So you can go inside your system properties and you go and you set it up the environment variables. And inside the environment variables, you can create a new one called OCIO, obviously. And you're gonna put like browse the directory where you put like your .ocio config file for the ASUS 1.2. From that point on, when you restart your machine, and each application, you're gonna have automatically set it up, the OCIO, in the proper folder, and you're not gonna have like any trouble whatsoever. So if you're gonna update at some point the OCIO environment variables, all the application will automatically be set up to use that version. In this way, you can be sure that you are consistent in all your usage of the OCIO. The other things we need to set it up right away is the render layer settings. This specific setup has been made to be used the legacy render settings. So you simply go into the preferences rendering and you go inside the render legacy render layers. If it's not already set it up, you're gonna have probably the render setup, the standard one. But I want to go on the legacy render layer. You close Maya, you restart it, and then you're gonna have like all your render layers here available. These two little things are the ones that need to be set it up in advance before using and open any of the two setup scenes. Before doing anything and open any of the two scenes I provided, please be sure to set up properly your project. Setting up the project in Maya, it's very simple, but it's equally very important. So what you need to do is just go to set project and choose the folder where is your turntable scene. So you go in your turntable scene and you set the folder. In this way, all the dependencies of the texture path and everything will be automatically loaded on a relative path compared to the location where you extracted the project files. When it comes to the Turntable, there are two scenes I created. One is called the LITE version, and one is the full turntable scene. The reason why I split it into two different scenes is based on some users' feedback. So I decided to create one simpler scene where you can basically have all the same things that you have in the full turntable, but a bit more manual to be set it up. So you don't have like the render layers, you have nothing at all. You just have like your shader balls, the reference balls, the color chart, and this scene is mainly created to be used as a template scene to create your materials using the shader ball, to import your asset and test it here and prepare all the material and everything else, and then you export your object as a Maya file, and you import in the turntable scene to create the full turntable if you want to do it. Otherwise, you can simply render from here. Also here you have full control on the scene. So for instance, as you can see, we have our turntable scene, we have the backdrop. The backdrop is based on meters, but you can also change this to go in by 10 centimeter, and I will show you in a second how. The cool things about this setup is that obviously those two groups are like separated, you can move them wherever you want, but also they follow the camera as an aim constraint. So if I move my camera up or down, as you can see, they always like be presented as a frontal to the camera. That is what technically we want. And in this case, so you don't need to do like anything, and they're gonna be always like in the right position or a right orientation, I would say. But you have also the freedom to move them closer to camera, further to camera, so you have like full control of whenever you want to position them. Try to always move the group all together. So if you want eventually to move it on top, you're gonna have it moved on top, but it's always gonna be like oriented in a proper way compared to the screen. So if whatever you want to do it, you're gonna always have like full control on where you place them and how they react compared to where your camera is positioned. So that's a nice trick in case you want to change like stuff around. One of the things you can do if you go into the 2render group, you can change your HDR simply from here. So let's say that you are using like the 0, you can go from 0 to 5, or you can like go from all the HDR I set it up for you. So you're gonna have like different set it up, like from exterior overcast to exterior with a little bit more like directional light, another kind of directional light, more strong, more direct, and then you have like 2 night setup, one with a stronger light and another with neon lights. In this case, you can set it up like whatever kind of lighting scenario you think you can check. The other thing is that this setup is also automatically attached as a turntable, so you can evaluate your shader in every angle possible, and you have also the turntable of the HDRI rotating around the object. All set it up automatically for you. You don't need to do anything in this case. Also, another thing is that I set it up already the denoiser automatically, so it's gonna be faster for iteration. But obviously, if you are looking for very specific detailed material, you would maybe disable it to go more on the full calculation. But in case you are like experimenting with material, you're doing like some fast iteration, I suggest you to keep it on. It's very fast, and you can do like very quick like test with this. I also set it up like the test resolution to 50% again to speed up the process when you are like prototyping shader and stuff like that. Other things you can do, you can use like the cloth or the liquid kind of mesh to set up a specific kind of material. If you don't see it right away, you just can like update the scene, Ctrl U, or update the scene like that. You play again, and then it's gonna update the scene, loading like all the material that you need and everything you need to use. Majority of the time, I tend to use the setup number 0, the shader the HDR number 0 is the more like appropriate for majority of the cases. Another things, you can hide the backdrop, and you can reveal the HDRI behind it in case you want to render with the HDRI. I've already set it up an environment with a matte shadow object, so you're gonna cast the shadows on a virtual plane, so you're always gonna have shadows on your scene. So you can select another one and you can see clearly how things are going. And again, this is all like updating in real time, it's rotating, and you have everything under your control. You can do whatever you want. Also, as I said before, you can import your own asset. In this case, I imported like a sneaker. I did already like my shader. I've assigned the shaders to it, so it's very simple. But it's a small object, so first things you want to do is like eventually zoom on top of the object, because you want to have like a closer render. Eventually, you want to rotate it in the right position. And if you render, you can see that you probably want to use like a different scale for your backdrop. So as I said before, you can go inside the 2render group, and then you can scale it from the 1 to the 0, that is the 0 the centimeter one. And as you can see, now I have like my scale is down in centimeter. So these are like 10 centimeter. These can be helpful because it can help you to understand the size of an object, for instance, and also the size of the texture you use as a reference. And again, everything is working as expected. You have your, in case you want to use it also in the turntable, you just take your object and you put it under the render group. And then now this is linked to our turntable, so everything will be automatically rendered in this way. And again, if you want to scale your reference ball in your like macro chart, you can take it, select it, and scale it, and move it all around. I always suggest you to keep them at least in line and in line with the object if you need to do like that. But again, if it's just for understanding how things are working, if the light setup is done correctly, and it is because I've set it up correctly, but in case you want to use it, you know that this is the way to do it. If you go into the table scene, you don't need to worry about that, and I'll show you how later. When it comes to the turntable folder, to the full turntable scene, you will see that you basically have nothing in the display layers. The folder structure is roughly the same, but you have like a lot of render layer already set up for you. Why? Because this is gonna be rendered, everything will be rendered as soon as you activate them. So when it's black, it means that it's activated, so this will be rendered for you. In case of the color or the charts and the reference pole, you technically need to render only the first time you're gonna render all of them, because if you don't change anything, you should not change anything. These should be already rendered out for you, and I've already rendered them for you in project folder, so these you don't really need to render them. In case you're gonna change, you're gonna add other HDR later on, or in case I will change something later on in the setup, maybe we need to re-render it. But in this specific case, I will provide you already the rendered version of these charts, so you're not gonna need to check anything, to touch anything about this. The only things that you can use these layers just to previs your HDRI to troubleshoot something. What it's doing basically is just rendering the HDRI and show you like the macro chart lighted in the proper way. Later on, these things will be used by the template in Nuke to be positioned in the proper way, whatever you want to do. When it comes instead to render your specific asset, what you do obviously is like you import or you reference your own asset. That can be texture or not, we don't care. It depends if you want to render it with the default material, or I have like a couple of material that I already set it up. One is a terracotta and the other one is a simple gray master material that you can simply use, but in this specific case it's already like shaded very basically. So to render it, you just need to take the asset, put it again under the main group, the render group, and the simplest things you have to do is just go in the render layer, just check your camera position. So you're gonna go into your main camera and not the chart camera you're gonna be able to move. So you're gonna take your camera, you're gonna frame it around your asset, you're gonna position it in the angle that you prefer the most. Eventually you can rotate your default position of your asset. And you should be good to go. As you can see, you have the rotation is happening, the environment will rotate accordingly, and if I try to render it out, you should see the result in a matter of seconds if you go on the main camera. And that's it. That's your asset. And it's rotating in a proper angle. And also the HDR will rotate behind it, as you can see. You can check also on some other like HDRI, you should see the other ones. So whatever render layer you select, you should see that in a second, like the asset happening. That's it. So you just need to activate the render layer that you want based on the HDR that you want to export. Maybe all of them, maybe a couple of them, the one that you like the most. And also, please don't touch in any way like the naming convention here, because this will render automatically in the proper folder and with the proper naming convention all your file and passes. So you're not gonna need to do anything, you don't need to worry about the naming convention, anything like that. Everything will be rendered in the proper way. If you save this one with the name of your asset, it will be rendered like with the proper name of the asset instead of a generic turntable name. You can save it like, I don't know, in this case would be Napoleon statue turntable, and it will render out in the proper folder for you. So you don't need to worry about anything in this specific case scenario. So yeah, happy rendering, and I see you in the COM template. The first thing, you're gonna open the Nuke template. You should look like pretty much like this. So you should have like probably an error message happening, or you should see like those icon red. This is absolutely normal because we didn't load like any kind of information yet in the in our template. So to load actually your renders and your chart, to make it the template work, basically you need to load your renders and your charts. basically are the one that you render out from Maya. If you didn't change any naming convention or anything at all, you should just point out to the folder that contains the main render output. So whatever was your shot, you should have something like this. You should see like the name of the folder or the folders that you render out. So it should be HDR 1, 2, 3, whatever, or 1, 4, 5, depends on which one you render, if you didn't render all. And when you are in the folder where these ones are visible, then you open it and automatically the setup will go and load the renders for you. Same things you need to do with the charts. So you're gonna go and load in the chart folders, whatever you render them, the things that's called like charts, blah, blah, blah. So in this case, you should have everything. And then if you go to point out to your last node, that is the right node, with the click 1 to view the final comp, you should then be able to see your renders and everything. After that, all the setup I will explain like in a couple of seconds. So let's have a look now at the comp template. This is like the cherry on top of the cake. This is like probably the most important part of these old turntables, because yes, you can do a turntable, but you want to present your asset in the best way possible. With this setup, I try to replicate as much as possible the same feelings of the kind of presentation that we use like in the high-end companies. And what is very important in any kind of presentation of an asset, even if it's for your own purposes or for your single clients, it's having something that it's continuous, as like a standard in the way you present your stuff. And having a Nuke template that is already pre-configured for you make this task much more easy. The way this presentation is done is mainly it's containing all the information that you need to present. So it's the name of your asset, it's the version of your asset, whatever is a model, whatever is a shading or texture, whatever it is. You have the space for references. You have your reference ball over there and your Macbeth chart, and even the preview of the kind of HDR we are using. And all these options are changeable and are customizable completely. So you have like your beauty presentation, and you have everything you have on a regular turntable, on a regular turntable that comes from Maya. So you have like the object that rotates plus the HDR that rotates around the object. But the cool thing is that if you go inside these little knob over here, it will open for you all the settings of this turntable. So let's make a lapse all these options and let's go through it one by one. First of all, what you need to do is load your renders and your Macbeth charts. Then you go to your asset name. You can configure it in however way you want, so you can put whatever things you think is useful and then you put it there. So in my case, it's Napoleon statue, and then you put like the version of your stuff. If you want, you can even scale slightly, higher, bigger, whatever you want, the size of this one. Then you can choose which one is the HDR that you render out. So here it's like the same kind of HDR you have in Maya are ordered here in the same way. So whatever you rendered, all the 6 of them or a couple of them, you can always change it here, and you can automatically see your turntable right away. Okay. The other things you can do, you can choose what kind of presentation you want to do. If you want to use the beauty, or if you want to present the clay, or if you want to present UV pass, or if you want to present a wireframe, depending on your object. And you can present it in a comp version way with a little bit of like lens distortion and stuff like that, or in a pure way, like this. So in this case, I've enabled the comp. So when I click here, I disable in the comp. So if I do like that, it's disabled. And as you can see, also here, you can see that this is now looking through the comp version. As you can see, there's a little bit of lens distortion, there's a little bit of vignetting, depth of field, and so on and so forth. Continuing, you can select which one of the description that you can put in it. So you want the text info, you want the reference ball, you don't want the HDRI preview, and you want your references. So you can have like a clean presentation or a full detailed presentation at your service. When it comes to the comp settings, I have limited like to choosing like whatever you want in this specific case. So let's say that I want to enable, I want to disable the ZD focus or the LITE or whatever, and I can always go and set it up like my layer setup for the ZD focus. So if I enable the ZD focus and I enable my comp details, I can see that now whatever is in green based on this distance that usually is meter, so it's gonna be in focus. Whatever is out of the green area is gonna be out of focus. So if I go back to the result, I will see that now the background is defocused. And again, if I disable it, it will see that how much. I can also increase it if I want, let's say 40. And let's say again, as you can see, this is like working properly. This can be something that you want or you don't want. I can disable the LITE. In this specific case, you can load whatever LITE you want. LITE is the lookup table. It's give you like any extra kind of like effect. There's a little bit of like lens dirt that I created just to give a little bit more an interesting feeling in case you want it. Let's close again the comp settings. Now we can go on the text settings. What is the text setting is when instead of using as a background your HDRI, you want to use a color. So in this case, I can go on a flat color and I can choose whatever color I want. Going from here, I choose whatever color. You can also go on the picker, but I mean, like this is much more easy like that. I can add a ramp in my background, and I can even add the vignetting in my background. So I can work with it and I can do whatever kind of presentation I feel is better for me. I can decide to put the shadow or not put the shadow. In case it's not an object that is like attached to the floor, you can disable the shadows. And you can enable and disable the occlusion to give it more depth to your object. And in case specifically you are on the wireframe, you can even change the color of your wireframe. Let's say in this specific case, you want something more, I don't know, pinkish, violet, or whatever it is to make it stand out more. So this is give you the complete control on all your visual representation of your asset. And on top of this, you have also the reference tab that you can use. So you can have a single image that you can load and you can move it around. Let's say that I'm gonna load it one, and I can enable it, and you're gonna have your single image. Let me disable the contact sheet, and you're gonna have your image here, and you can scale it and position however you prefer in case you have only one single image that you want to use. But majority of the case, maybe you want to use a contact sheet, so you can load until like up to six like images as reference. Right now the last two I didn't even load them, but you can load and disable them because they're gonna be like on top of this one. But these reference images can be whatever resolution you want to put, whatever size and proportion, and the tool will try automatically to space them and adapt them properly so they are not like disturbing your main asset. Okay, and that's it. Those are all the things you can do with this setup. Imagine the unlimited option that you have to present your assets with like whatever like turntable that you want, whatever color that you want for your background. You can go eventually more like on a generic darker or like let's say dark environment to make your asset stand out. You can reduce or increase vignetting, and you can like maybe remove the references and keep just the shader ball, and then you want to create this setup and do like this, you know, and you want to change like maybe your lighting setup. And again, as a click of a button, since you render all of them from Maya, you can present all your asset in whatever way you think is the more appropriate for that specific asset. And again, you can add or remove whatever of the option. And at the end of the day, you just need to go there and click on this one, and automatically what the tool will do is like take the name of the asset in its version and a kind of like pass, let's say that you are rendering out, and it's gonna name it like it's supposed to be in the proper folder. So you don't just need to render. I set it up like a PNG sequence that usually is it's going to be something that it's usable. It's going to bake automatically the ACES profile as a PNG, so you're going to be able to share it with whatever software you prefer. It can be a single image, can be a sequence. You're just going to render out, click on render, and you're going to say like whatever is your frame range that you want to render, if it's a single image or like a turntable, and you can do whatever you want. So again, I think this is like pretty cool the way you can use this one. I'd love for you guys to experiment it and to come back to me with whatever problem you have or whatever suggestion you have to improve this one. I think it's already in a pretty good stage for like creating your own like turntable presentation, but please let me know how I can help you to make your presentation even better. And yeah, there's not much more to say. With the same idea in mind, I created like pretty much the same kind of setup also in After Effects. Bear to the limitation of After Effects, also the fact that I'm not a power user in After Effects, I was not able to create the same kind of interface or same kind of like plug and play kind of template. So I tried my best to create like an easy to use template in After Effects. As you can see, visually it's roughly identical to the one that you have like in Nuke. You have again your text that you can select and deselect, your charts, your references, everything the same way. You have the AO pass, the occlusion pass that you can put it on top, the wireframe that you can put, the UVs that you can see, the clay, and so on and so forth. To update your asset, the easiest way I found out was to just replace your footage. So you're gonna replace your footage and technically it should all come into place. The only thing you need to pay attention is the alpha that I use for the asset, that it's come out again from the Cryptomat. There's no way whatsoever, as far as I can tell, for After Effects to be able to pick up the name of the asset in the proper way with the wildcard that's called wildcard that we use in Nuke. So again, due to this limitation, you need to pay attention that this specific asset, you need to go, when you update your renders with another asset, you should reset both the extractor. So you're gonna extract again your information from the crypto asset, and you're gonna reset again this information and reselect the layer, just clicking on this one, and then with the shift selected, you click on the map that you want of your asset, on the part of your asset that you want, and you be sure to select matte only. In this way, you restore again your alpha map that's gonna work with the layers, because all these layers are using as a matte the layer AO asset. Same things for the beauty. So right now I'm just showing the AXR by itself, but if I want to see the background that I pre-comped it, I need to enable the alpha asset, so it's gonna show me the background, and if I want to change anything about the color of the background and everything else, it's all inside here. And again, also here you need to restore that alpha in case you change the asset. Every time you change the asset, you import a new turntable in your render sequence, you need to do like that. Also, you don't have the same control as you have in Nuke in terms of like having multiple renders at the same time, so you need to do one by one. Again, if there's any power user or After Effects out there that is able to convert my Nuke script in a After Effects more reliable template, I'll be more than happy to collaborate with this person. So to all the After Effects experts out there, please shout out. So I tried my best to give you the option to use also this template in After Effects, and as you can see, it's working the same way. So you have the turntable and everything else. Everything is rotated as expecting. All the map are updating, the shadows are working. So it's very similar to what you can do in Nuke, but it's less interactive and it's less fast to be configured with all these things. So I hope this little effort will make someone happy. Also, this setup is working with the ASUS 1.2 core management. So, and you should not be worried about anything, because the pre-comp where you have all your references, that are the only one that are sRGB, has already a look transform applied. So whatever you put inside this layer should be automatically
color corrected. As you can see here, the color are not correct because are sRGB imported in the ACES profile, but when you load then later on the pre-comp, as you can see here, I have the effect that convert the color in a proper way for the ACES profile. So you should not be worried about anything else. Again, I hope this was useful for all the After Effects user out there, and if any power user of After Effects is there and want to help me to bring these to the next level, please write me in the comment or write me in private, and we're gonna work together to make it work better. And please don't forget to subscribe to all my channels. Thank you very much. Bye guys.